Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and this is your end of week. It is Thursday. We have off tomorrow, so end of week video. I will do a quick summary, and we'll talk about where the performance was for this week, and of course where it wasn't. And so today is Thursday. It's April 6th. Tomorrow we do have the jobs report, so I will probably pop in the Tribeca Trade Group trading room tomorrow just to kind of go over the numbers. And we'll see if we get this. I've been calling it this batch of economics over the last week. We have been seeing weaker than expected numbers. Here are the estimates for tomorrow without going into any major detail, just to kind of go over what we have for tomorrow. There it is. Private payrolls, they're looking for a gain of 218. Non-farm payrolls, they're looking for a gain of 230. Again, I think as always, I'm inserting my commentary into here that I think the average hourly earnings month over month, if this number is much different than the expectations, this could be the driver of the price movement tomorrow that we see in equity futures, which will be open tomorrow, shortened because while this is going on. So you can kind of watch how the market does this. I think bond futures are also open, but yes, 0.3 is something to keep in mind. So that's tomorrow. If I didn't mention, risk disclaimer in front of you, everything that we're going through is for information purposes only. Please read the full risk disclaimer here. Everything for education purposes only. Also, considering it's the end of the week, right? Every day I give these free videos. And but really, it's just kind of the tip of the iceberg of what we do. Please check out tribecatradegroup.com just as a overview of what we do on a day-to-day basis. I think even if you're a part-time trader, I know that there's a lot more part-time traders these days than full-time, as a lot of traders have gone back to work. But we do a pre-market session, which is only lasts about like 15 minutes, 20 minutes right before the start of the day. I also provide a midday video and summaries, just so that you can kind of see, what is the best performance, or what are the themes and what are the performing areas. It's been a long week, even though it's been a short week. It's been a long week. I also give my performance at the end of every month. I'm also in the U.S. Investment Championship contest, so these results you'll see. But for the month of March, I did kind of get up to almost 15% year to date. This week, down about 1% for this week. I had a number of good trades this week, but also a number of trades that I had on for swing trades that gapped down. So again, I go over these summaries so that you can kind of tell how a trader really does, because a lot of people on Twitter, they don't do that, right? They basically only talk about winners. And in this market, of course, everybody's has losers. If they don't have losers, they're lying to you. This is this week I thought was very challenging. And by the way, you can go to services and products, or you could just click join from our homepage. But here's basically what you get. I do also love how traders interact with us during the day. We get some really good traders who also provide their own ideas, and often, if an idea is good, I'll take it, right? But I go through and provide charts and so forth, so traders can kind of see what their name looks like in our system, which is the Market Webs, which uses volume at price. So just quick intro, because it is end of week, and themes for the day. I'm going to go through about probably 10 charts in this video. Of course, I'll do the indices, but I want to talk about a couple single names, some names where we saw some option activity, which I thought were pretty interesting. One name was kind of interesting that we saw some call buying in, which I mentioned pre-market, but anyway, I'll get to that. So I'd say a couple themes of the day. Nice reversal. The Qs for the week were kind of getting beaten up a little bit. Growth was not where it was at this week. There was a lot of rotation into more of the low volatility equity areas. There is an ETF for that that's called SPX. LV. It's something that we went over, I think, in yesterday's video. And that ETF basically is comprised of utilities, healthcare, staples. So that had some nice performance for the week, but not so much today. The Qs did outperform for the day. They came into the day, they were trailing, right? So they opened trailing, and they went a little bit lower, and they actually finished up about 70 basis points for the day, so just a little bit under 1%, and they rallied 1.2%. They rallied 1.2% over the trading session. That was much more than any of the other indices, such as large caps or small caps. All right, so that was the theme of the day. Also, speaking of call activity, there was a little bit of call activity today in both the regional banks today. So different, and a little bit of buying as well as Bank of America. There's also a small call buyer in Truist too. So it's something that I've been kind of waiting and watching. And if you're reading the tape like me, or if you know somebody who is doing that via option flow, one of the things that I've said is we want to start seeing people kind of take some shots at the banks. It's been very quiet on the call side. Mostly what we've seen is put buying, like over the last month, and pressing, names that have already gotten beaten down. But starting to see some names, for example, if I could show you, let's see if I have this up, this is Trade Alert, and this was the call activity today in KRE, for example. So this particular trade I thought was interesting. This was the April 40 calls. You could see there was some size behind it. It was $1.8 million in premium. It's an opening trade, 18,000 contracts. So again, we haven't really seen too much of that. So I thought that was an interesting theme for the day, even though once again, I don't think those areas, what did KRE do for the day? It actually was up today, so sorry about that. That's a mistake. I said it didn't perform today, so it was up 1.5% for the day. Also, you could see biotech had a nice day, right? These are a couple of areas that really, and it's weird because biotech, I guess you could make some type of a connection with funding or something like that, but biotech has been under pressure as well. Certainly, we could start with a couple of those charts. I mentioned 10 charts, but while I'm talking about the regional banks, you could see it's kind of in no man's land on the weekly chart, right? Big old head and shoulders, you could probably say, or most head and shoulders patterns are not perfectly a left shoulder and a right shoulder, and like a textbook. Many of them are kind of abstract. Some of them will have like 2 or 3 shoulders and then break, or 2 shoulders on the left side. But regardless, the 200-day moving average coincided with the bottom of value. Very decisive break of that 200-day moving average, and we could get to 38, 34. That's what I've mentioned in a couple charts. And then on the weekly chart with KRE, again, just to kind of go over, this is one of the weakest areas of the market. For now, it's holding 41.48, right? That is the bottom of value for April. It's the basically we're bouncing on the lows of last month. So there's not much to really jump up and down about. Just something maybe to put on your radar, considering that we are starting to see some call activity, but price action is below all those moving averages that I have. Again, the first level to watch of support is 41.48. I mentioned biotech too, so I might as well bring up that one. Let's do this the right way and start with the weekly chart. It doesn't look good, regardless of it having an update today. This is clinging. Maybe some people think this is a buying opportunity. Okay, that's fine. But please use this 76.38. That's the bottom of the value area for 2023. So it's been an underperformer, really. And if it doesn't hold there next week, again, it's one of those groups, which I think is really kind of the theme. I hear people all the time talking about whether we're in a bull, this has been a bull market since last October, or this is, we're in a bear market, or, and all kinds of people arguing with one another. I'm gonna tell you something that's probably not too many people are saying. There's different areas of the markets are doing different things. There's a lot of areas that are in bear markets. There's a lot of areas also that are in bull markets, right? That are doing very well and very close to their either all-time highs or, highs of this year. So, I think that's the best way to kind of describe it. And then when you look at the overall, if you want to think about the S&P 500 as the overall market, some people don't. Some people are arguing with that. Oh, that's not all stocks. Okay, well, for now, let's just say S&P 500 is a good proxy for the overall market. Again, you could debate me on that. That's fine, but that's sideways. So let's start with those indices, even though I'm kind of jumping around, and then I will get to the weekly performance. But here's the S&P, right? I don't think that this is in a bear market. It's inside the value area for the year. So how would I classify this at this point? Sideways. That's how I would classify it until it breaks 42.57. Again, we're kind of leaning towards the upside here for the S&P. Looking at where we are too on the daily chart, very close to taking out this virgin point of control. But even if we take this out, we're still not above where we were in February. So again, just inserting, some objectiveness. Of course, the Qs. I wanted to this is one of the charts that I wanted to review. Of course, we took out this virgin point of control on Friday, but it was actually a down week for the Qs. But, a lot of people saying, a lot of people were excited, I think, about the Q's price action today, even though only up 67 basis points, it still bounced where it needed to, right? For me, that's the top of the April value area, right? That is a crucial support area, and that bounced where it needed to. Looking at the weekly chart for the Qs, right? We're still stuck in the value area. We started sideways, even though we started right at the bottom of value area. It's been one hell of a rally this year. But this is still, not in an uptrend, in my opinion, on the weekly chart, right? It's got to break above 332. It's sideways until it breaks out of the value area. Again, these are my definitions using volume at price and using basically all of that price and volume activity from 2022 to comprise this value area. All right. Now here's where we kind of get to the bad side. IWM is just kind of lingering around this bottom value or closer. So again, you have the S&P and you have the Qs leaning to the upside. You got IWM, small caps and micro caps, which I'll show you in just a second. But this is where you have the more unhealthy areas of the market. This is 165.67 that needs to be watched. Again, if you look at the this on the daily chart, you're going to see that we're right smack in the middle of the April value area too. Pretty darn neutral to negative, I would say. So here's where we get to the worst of the worst. IWC microcaps. So if you're looking for possibly a silver lining here, it is holding the bottom of value for the month of April. Needs to hold this 100.17. Go over to the weekly chart. If you've been watching my videos this week, I've talked about this chart a couple times, but we did break the value area for the year, right? This is not bullish, right? And this is, you could see, is now downtrending, okay? So again, different buckets of categories if you like that label of bull market or bear market, but this one is not a bull market. So again, you can't just cherry pick and say, okay, well, these stocks look great, or these stocks look bad, right? There's a real big mix of areas of the market. Of course, if we want to look at international, right, this is actually looking pretty good, right? Believe it or not, the international developed markets, this is EFA, right? And that's the way I call it, is international developed. It's Europe and Japan mostly, but this is looking pretty darn good. Not by a lot. 70.91 is your support, but this is now uptrending, right? And then EEM too, right? You can see this is a different picture. This is on the bottom side of the value area. But again, this covers a lot of global equities or non-US equities, right? International. So Interesting to see the differences here. Let's talk about the performance for the week, and then I will go into a few single stock charts as mentioned. But here's what we had for the week. This is actually 4-day. So just anywhere it says 5-day performance, I actually went through. It took me a little bit of time and got you 4-day performance, because in my Bloomberg calculations, everything is set to 5-day. So I had to do a little work to get you 4-day, so that we don't include last Friday's price action, which will definitely skew the the performance if you go back for 5 days. So SPY finished down for the week, just barely down 1/10%. Diamonds actually had a rare week of outperformance. That was up 0.7%. Small caps were down 2.5%. Qs down just about 1% for the week. There again, you could see that EFA outperforming, up 0.5% versus EEM. Bonds had a good week, up 2%, and gold had a good week. I said 10 charts, but I'm going over. GLD. Here's what GLD looks like. This impressed me this week, right? And I did play. I had some Newmont mining on. I'll bring up that chart. If this, let's bring up gold futures, because this isn't working. So again, we're at the upper range, right? A lot of people are excited about this, right? We're probably a little bit overbought here, but the main thing for me is we got over this. We got over a big area of supply, right? And this was this virgin point of control. Even though gold was down today, it still held above the April value area. Again, that's significant to me. 2360 in gold futures. So as long as this kind of is above value, even better. But even just this red line in here, which is a little bit north of 2000, I'd say I want to be kind of long gold, and unless that doesn't, unless that gets violated. All right. And, so here was my trade in Newmont. This was a good one. Wasn't a huge trade this week because I just went long on the, as it broke out of value. I had talked about it a few times last month, was almost there. And then it broke, this 49 level and marched up to this virgin point of control. So I would have liked to look for more for this. If it gets back above this 5250, I will try Newmont again. But we did see I mentioned in yesterday's video that we saw silver mining, and I did go long this PAAS. Right, so this is Pan American Silver. If you don't zoom out, you could say, "Oh, geez, this has had such a rally." Right. Well, if you look back, it's actually, it's had a nice rally from the low, but over the last year, I think this name is down. So again, this could just be the beginning of the move. Heavy call buying in this, and I was looking for something in this space. And when I don't really have a major preference, sometimes the aggressive call activity can kind of help me into a name. And I actually took a target in this one. I got in at 1890, and my first target was going to be 1960, but I just thought it was close enough. Where am I getting 1960 from? You could see that there's a virgin point of control on the 1 hour time frame. All right. So again, took one target, and then we'll kind of sit with this theme for now. And I like having some exposure right now in the precious metals space. Let me go through the rest of the performance, because I think I stopped at the precious metals, but value outperformed this week, 0.6% versus 0.8 versus VUG. And if you look at the left side of the performers here, these are sector performers. These were your winners. Gold miners had a huge week, up 6.4%. Healthcare, right? I mean, healthcare has just been nowheresville. And really had a nice week. I still think this chart, I think you've got to go through individual names and pick out names, because it's one heck of a difficult looking chart to me. Very, very sideways. We did come out and take out this virgin point of control. So this would be a place, honestly, for me to be taking profits, right? A move up from the lows, move right back into that range. Anytime that we see one of these that's after that, you see that's really not connected to one, that's had a decent rally, is where I want to be a seller. Utilities had a big week too. I'm going way over the amount of 10 charts, but again, look at this, taking out, rising up to that 200-day moving average, as well as that virgin point of control. I would be a seller into those. Energy also had a nice week. That was following of most of the performance. There was the gap up after the OPEC production cut that was announced over the weekend. As said, biotech did okay. It was up 1.4%. And then you had some other areas like consumer staples. The financials actually outperformed a bit. When you look at some of the other areas, it was only down 0.5% this week. Clean energy, solar, those really got hit hard. Those higher beta areas. Steel names got hit hard. Obviously we saw that earlier in the week after we had some weak economics. Those names really got hit hard. Industrials should be on there too, and the underperformers, they were down 3.4%. So again, also the semis down 4%. Also, when you think about it, economically sensitive too. So again, a lot of those like cyclical areas of the market really got hit hard this week. Here's your international performance. I'll spare you that. I won't go over that. I mentioned I would go over a few more charts for you guys. BABA, we'll start with that one. International name. This is one that we also saw some call activity, and I went along with. I managed to take a target or two on the dip because I bought it into the 50-day moving average. Be looking for another target just a little bit north of here at 103.93, and then we'll see. Right, we can look at the 1 hour chart for a little bit more precise levels, but ultimately I think 105. Right, if there's some more momentum behind Alibaba, I think that would be my final place to get rid of the swing trade that I have on right now. All right, and I've got a few other ones too. PC. So I mentioned there was one that I went over pre-market. Yeah, how about this, right? So this is one that I went over pre-market. If you don't believe me, let's go into the charts channel here. PCG, 8 o'clock this morning, right? I really like this. If to play a utility, this is one that I've been watching for a while, right? If you look at the weekly chart, right, this is the California utility that got into a lot of trouble, all the way down from 71 bucks, but has been basing for a long time. This is, by the way, how usually like names that are in downtrends, after they go down like this, they usually spend a good amount of time going sideways like this and is trying to resolve higher out of this. I like the risk to reward here. I also like that somebody bought a boatload of calls today. My first target will be 17.18 and then maybe 18.34. Right, so that's PCG. That's a utility company. Again, I like, based on what the performance this week, I think that we could see some of these areas that, even though the utilities and the healthcare hit those VPOCs on the daily chart, it doesn't mean that, that the whole group is going to fade at those levels, right? I think that there's going to be something to some of these areas that might have pockets of strength. All right. So, I'm going to leave you with the last two charts, right? You heard so much this week about, only it's these names contributing to the index returns. I'm not going to go into that. You could, if you want that discussion, please review yesterday's video as I talked about people, using that as a narrative to push, right? What you could do if you want to see unbiased indices, look at the equally weighted indices. So this is a better looking picture than I'm going to show you the equally weighted S&P in just a second. But this is instead of the Qs, which are market cap weighted, the QQEW is the same components that are in the Qs, but they're equally weighted. You could see this is strong. It's very close to breaking higher. It's almost uptrending. It just has to get back above the 99.65. In my opinion, this is a must watch. Again, you could see, right? It throws out that argument. What have people been saying all over the place? Oh, it's only so many names that are responsible for the performance of the Qs. Yes, the Qs is very top heavy, right? So it has a bunch of names that are big weights. That's going to dictate performance. That's how a market cap weighted index works. If you want to see how how an index that's not skewed that way, QQEW, right? And you could see it's doing quite fine this year, right? It's not just 3 or 4 companies that are up in this index, right? Again, I did this math last week for people just to show them. I'm like, hey, there's over 30, I think I forget the number, but it was over 30 that are up, over 30 names out of 100 in the Qs that are up over 20% year to date. So throw this garbage argument that it's only a few names that are performing in the Qs. There's actually over 30 companies that are up over 20% year to date, right? That's garbage analysis. It's also, sorry to say, but it's also very lazy analysis when you hear somebody say that. But here's the equally weighted S&P. All right, so same concept. Instead of market cap weighting the SPY, right, it's equally weighted. This doesn't look as good right now. Again, sideways. All right, guys, I will leave it there. I think going forward, I think that you're going to see a lot of twists and turns. One of the messages that I said on Twitter last Sunday night when everybody was posting all these bullish growth charts, I'm like, guys, this group is going to need to back and fill a little bit. All right. And, we saw that this week. Now I think we'll have to see who's going to kind of take the lead next week. The other thing to kind of keep in mind too, is that we're going to have earnings coming up. I brought this up for a reason. But if you look, JP Morgan is usually the one company that I think kind of kicks off earnings, right? That's a week from tomorrow, right, is when JP Morgan reports. So I think besides this jobs report that's going to come out on Friday, I think really how these companies that are going to be reporting could be dictating, again, where you're going to see the performance, what areas of the market are doing well and what areas are doing bad. Again, I don't think it's the whole thing, right? I don't think all the companies are doing well. I don't think all the companies are doing bad. I think we're going to find potential leaders for the next quarter based on what these earnings reports are going to say, and also potential laggards too. So stay tuned. If you're not a member of Tribeca Trade Group, as I said in the beginning of the video, go right here. Would love to see you in the trading room. Guys, have a great weekend, and please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Thank you all.